Hello and welcome back to the Kindergarten View. Today we're going to talk about our math program that we use excuse me, with your kindergartners. It's a program called Investigations, and we do a lot of learning through math games that focus on each of the kindergarten standards that they have to master by the end of kindergarten. It's a spiral program, so that means it builds onto each other. So right now, for example, with counting, we're working on counting to 30, and then by the end of the year, we'll be able to count to 100. So it builds up as we progress throughout the year. And then writing numbers, by the end of the year, they should be able to write the numbers 0 to 20. And right now, we're just working on the first few numbers to get the hang of that, and then we'll progress to add on more numbers. We are going to each show you and tell you about the standards for kindergarten for math, and we'll also show you one of the math games that we play for one of those standards.
I wanted to add too, and I apologize for my voice. Investigations is a program that teaches children they investigate their way of learning. So in essence, if they need to count a certain way to understand it, then you're allowed to allow them to count that way. And it builds on itself throughout the year. So that's the unique thing about investigations that allows them to develop their own learning style and the best way that they can arrive at their answers. All right, I'm going to start with our counting forward beginning from any given number. And one of the ways that you can do this is a simple number line. This number line goes from 0 to 20. So you can make a number line at home, and you could tell your child to put their finger on any number. And let's say they put their finger on 8. And then you would ask them to count on from the number 8. They want them to learn to count from any given number, not just one, and always making sure they say 0. 0 is important. Another part of that is another couple of things you could do other than a number line is you could give them an opportunity to just call out a number to you, and then they would count on. As the year progresses, as Ms. Pate said, the number would increase, so the number should increase also doing with this. The next one that I'm going to cover is writing numbers 0 to 20. And we have number poems that are in their notebooks, and I know you've seen them. They only go for the single digit numbers though, so you would have to get them to add the 1 in front of it or the 2 or whatever, if it's a double digit number, whatever that number applies to. And some of the ways that we can do that, and I know you've seen this in homework, but we could do like the hundreds board and ask them to fill in the hundreds board. This of course would be by the end of the year. Our writing really is only to 20. But I'm just showing you the different things that we can do. We also have words that are more relevant to them that we can send home in homework. So practicing writing their numbers 0 to 20 is what they have to do by the end of the year. Okay. The next one is counting and answering how many. Yes, one of our games that we do in investigations is called Pattern Block Grab, comparing handfuls left and right. So if we had some blocks and they grabbed the blocks and then they put it down, then they grab with their left hand and they put it down. So in essence, they have 2 piles. They would count how many is in this one, and they would count how many is in this one. So that gives them an opportunity to count. Then it also allows them to do the next activity, which is talking about which group is greater, which group is less, or are both of them the same. I know in my room, whenever they grab any of the games that we play, I make them put one hand behind their back, because what they always want to do is so yeah, I just have them put it behind their back. Some of the things that you could use at home to do this with would be pennies, buttons, any candy that's individual blocks, if you have blocks, any of your coins, your dimes, your nickels. And if you did that, then they could just grab all the coins at one time and drop it. And then they could sort them and then count by that too. So there's a lot of different activities, and all of this was counting. Okay.
The next standard that we teach your children and they're graded on is classifying objects into given categories. After that, they have to count the number of objects in each category, sort the categories by counting them. this is how we do it here at school. We have attribute blocks, such as a square, the circle, the hexagon, and we have different, oh, and the rectangles here too. We ask them to sort them any way that they can. And one of the first ways that they usually sort them in my classroom is they sort by color, because I think that's the most obvious, easiest way. So they put all the yellows together, all the reds together, and all the blues together. Can they sort any other way? By the attributes, such as the size of the object. And if we suggest sorting by size, I usually can do that as well. I put all the small ones in a group and all the large ones in a group. Another way might be the thickness of each block. Some of them are thin, some of them are thicker than others, and they can sort that way. What's one more way? The shape, okay, so they can sort by shapes. They can put all the hexagons together, all of the rectangles in a group, all of the circles in a group. But now after they separate into these groups and they've sorted, we ask them to count each group and tell us how many are in each group. Another way to practice their counting after they've sorted. We've done sorting also in science, where they sort materials by their different attributes. So at home, you can practice sorting anything. You could sort dimes, nickels, pennies by their color, but you could do their color and their size. But you can just sort anything that you find, rocks. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as they understand that they're sorting by the different attributes and then counting each set.
Legos.
Legos would be a good one. Okay.
Laundry.
Okay. And is that standard?
We build, Investigations does build, like they said earlier, and after they have been introduced to these things, we actually use the shapes to, in our geometry unit. The objective is to identify shapes in the environment using the names of the shapes, describe the relative position of these objects using the terms above, below, beside, in front of, behind, and next to. Which in the beginning, they just have the basic shapes that they need to learn. But we want them to identify a clock as being a circle, a donut as being a circle, to recognize that a pizza has a shape, a slice of pizza has a shape of a triangle. A door, you may have seen it recently or upcoming in homework, to find shapes around your house. A door would be an environment that is a rectangle. You can use it when you're driving. A triangle is a road sign, a stop sign. Have them to tell you what that shape is, not just what the object is. Also, you could ask your child, what is under that square? What is under, what is above, or what is beside a given object? That's a way that they can enjoy it, but also be recognizing and describing the shapes in their surroundings, in their environments. We also do comparing 2D and 3D shapes. The 2D shapes would be your flat shapes, and the 3D shapes would be the shapes that you could hold in your hand. We want them to recognize that a cube has a face. Where I'm holding these two because the next objective is composing simple shapes to form larger shapes, where I have two triangles and I put them together and I have formed a square. Using different manipulatives, we let them build. They could take a square, which I'm going to use a cube because it's here, put a triangle with it, and make the shape of a house. They could use, I'm going to borrow your shapes here. They could use two smaller rectangles to make a square. we want them to be able to manipulate these in any way they can to best learn and investigate what they're doing.
And the next standard is having them start out with addition. It's KOA A2. I can solve addition and subtraction word problems using objects or drawings. So we will give them a simple word problem, such as the 3 turtles were sitting in the pond. 1 turtle walked away. And they can use a picture, a number sentence, manipulatives to figure out that word problem. And that's something easy you can do at home when you're sitting around. You can give them a simple story and they can act it out even. They can draw a picture or use manipulatives like blocks or Legos or coins to help them solve that problem. The next one is KOA A3. I can break apart numbers 10 or less into pairs more than one way. An example of that is 5. You can break 5 apart into 0 and 1, 2 and 3, 3 and 2, 1 and 4, 4 and 1, or 5 and 0. And one way that we do that at school is with crayons, red and blue crayons, red and yellow, any 2 colors, and they have to use the 2 different colors to make the number 5. And again, you can do that with your toys at home, crayons, colored pencils, whatever you have. And then the next one is KOA A4. For numbers 1 through 9, I can find numbers to add to make 10. So for example, if we gave them the number 1, they have to figure out how many more they need to make 10. So it would be 1 and then 9 more. Or if we gave them 3, they would have to figure out that they needed 7 more to make 10. An example of a game that we play at school to work on that standard is how many to 10. And our students, they use a card like this, and I know that's hard to see, but it has a 10 frame and the number, or you can just give them number cards. Excuse me. And they'll have a 10 frame to help them solve these problems. So they'll turn over a number, and this one is 6, and they'll use their 10 frame to make 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then they have to determine how many they need to make 10. And you can see by the blank parts of the 10 frame that they need 4 more to make 10.
Okay, good. The really cool thing about investigations is that it spirals up into the upper grades. So what we're doing is we're giving them a good foundation for what they'll be receiving in 1st grade, and then in 2nd grade, and then in 3rd grade. So what we do in kindergarten is so very important to make sure that they have these standard skills. So the last one we're going to talk about is I can compose and decompose numbers 11 through 19 into 10 ones and more ones. And this board's really big, but that's okay. Yeah, I think we're good. But anyway, you'll the tens frame, like Jessica mentioned, comes in many different things. We have this in the classroom. We have one like this in the classroom that comes with investigations. There's the little cards. You'll start to see tens frames everywhere because tens frames they're a very foundational, basic part of what the Common Core is. So if you can make a tens frame at home for your child, that would be very helpful. And a really fun way to do that is to take an egg carton and just cut 2 pieces off the end of it, and ta-da, you have a tens frame. And it's a tens frame that they can put things in and actually make 10. So another thing that we do is we teach them that there's an order to put things into their tens frame. So in other words, they can't just take 5 and make it all willy-nilly and put one here and one here. That's not 5. That's the top. So there is an order to your tens frame as well. So kind of got off on a bunny trail there, but anyway, so for the standard that we work on in kindergarten, the standard is I can compose and decompose numbers 11 through 19 into 10 ones and more ones. So what that basically means is they have to recognize that the 10 in the tens frame is full. It's full. So if I want to make a number bigger than 10, guess what? I need another tens frame. So they will recognize that this is 10. Well, how many more do you need? If our number is 13, well, guys, here I have 10, and we can count on then 11, 12, 13. So they can see that 13 is actually composed of 10 and then 3 ones. So 1, 10, 3 ones. And like I said, that's very foundational. And once they get into those upper grades, this will be so very important because you move past the tens into the hundreds, the thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, and even get into the millions. So learning your tens
That would be a lot of
frames.
10 frames.
That's a lot of egg cartons is what that is. Anyway, that's our math presentation for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in contact with us. You have the place in the binder. You can write us. Did you all want to say anything else before we go?
The only other thing I could think about was the 10 frame. It also allows them to, if the top one's full, they know that's 5. So it doesn't add
Exactly.
accounting on
Exactly.
too, because they can say 5, continue on to get what the number is.
That's right.
And
That's
they're-
why it's so important to put it in order.
Right.
Yeah.
And when they're missing, they can say, if the top one's full and the bottom one's missing, then they can say what minus 10 is the number.
Is the
So
number.
it's
And how many more do I need?
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does a lot of things. That 10
It
frame
does.
does a lot of
I
things.
love the tens frame. It's cool. Okay. Well, thank you
Thanks
for
for
joining
joining
us, and we'll see you again soon.